And speaking of Jake the Snake Roberts, he's with our man, Michael St. John.
Thank you, gentlemen. Back here I have a man of legendary proportion, the man Jake the Snake Roberts. He is a man that you all recognize. He's a legend. Come on, Jake, get on in here. The folks want to hear from you.
What I'm saying right now is this. You know, you get a casino, everybody says, well, gosh, the casino, you should gamble. Let me tell you something, Anvil. You don't want to play cards with me because I'll cheat. Okay? I cheat. You want to play 21? I got 22. You want to play blackjack? I got 2 of those too. You want to play aces and eights? Maybe I got too many of those too. Bottom line is this. You do not gamble with me. The only time you should gamble is this. Listen to me. When you walk in a casino and you want to gamble, the main thing is you should realize this. To gamble, you must accept losing. I don't accept losing. And neither does Damien. Damien, my friend. My friend Damien is right here.
Damien?
Damien?
Yeah, he just stuck his head out at
Nice
him.
looking pile of snake, huh?
Oh.
You don't want to see this, do you?
Well, I
Let me
know.
show you something.
Yeah, that's
Let me
okay,
show you
Jake.
No, I tell you what, Anvil. Go ahead, Anvil. Roll the dice. Mr. Cameraman, get your ass back up here. Hello? I'm talking to you. Get the camera back up here. That is not what you need to worry about, Anvil. The bottom line is this. When the DDT comes, then the snake comes out. Worry about the DDT. 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 Think about it.
A man of his word, Jake the Snake Roberts. Back to ringside.
This is the Pro Wrestling Reflection Podcast with your host, the Professor Chalbello Veracruz.
What a run!
Mr. Wonderful Tommy Wonder.
And I will take the powers of those that have no fear!
And the prodigal one, JB.
The queen, yeah. The cream of the crop.
Now it's time to go back in time in the time machine.
The American Dream! Dusty Road! Too sweet!
The living legend, Bruno Sammartino.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. To be the man, you gotta beat the man. Woo! Look at this. He's I don't believe it.
What is going on there, Reflection Knights? What is going on there, the Hamiites, the Big Vitoites, the PWCites, all the ites, the left, the right, the dems, the repubs, all the ites, the Reflectionites, the Israelites, the Ukrainites, the Russianites. There are a lot of ites out there, but you know what? I cannot name the millions, and I mean millions of ites out there. But anyway, neither here nor there. Welcome to the PWR podcast here at the Hami Media Group at podbean.com. Still on a ban from the PWHustle Network, but that's neither here nor there. I already said my rant on the last episode, but you know what? The pussification, the wussification is still going strong there. But we will not be deterred. The PWR will never be deterred. We are still going to go strong the way we always will. To the top, to the top, to the top. To the moon, just like Cameron Grimes says, but again, neither here nor there. And This is an episodic episode of the PWR podcast here at the Hameen Media Group at PWHustle.com. But before I do that, I must introduce myself because I am vain like that, Reflectionites. You know this. The Magnificent Seven knows how vain I am. The Elite Eight knows how vain I am. Donna Destruction knows how vain I am. Greenpeace knows how vain I am. Philip Scott Wood knows how vain I am. But neither here nor there. I am the most magnanimous one. I am the most charismatic one. I am the most stupendous one. But most importantly, I am the most glorious one. The only objective man in the IWC, YWC, PWC punditry. Your friend of mine, the Professor Chabel Cruz. And I'm not here alone. No. I got a man. The executive producer extraordinaire. Got him from the production area. And got him in front of all the Reflectionites. It's been so many years since he's done a PWR episode. He was the original host of the PWR podcast, but he bequeathed it to the professor because he entrusted the professor to take this money train that is the PWR podcast and take it to the next level. And I am always grateful for that. He is the reporter of the people, the man with the plan, the man that's here to stay to talk some lucha libre, the host of the Next Level Wrestling podcast on the Hameen Media Group, the co-host of the A Show with April Hunter on the Hameen Media Group at PWHustle.com and channelattitude.com. Almost got a tongue twisted there, but I caught myself. Your friend of mine, the executive producer of the Pro Wrestling Reflection podcast, the original alumnus of the PWHustle brothers, Big Ray Hernandez. Welcome to the PWR podcast. Welcome to your baby. How are you doing, my friend?
Oh, shuggy duggy quack quack. Doing fucking fantastic, man. I really wanted to do this show with Tommy Wonder, but you know where Tommy is. He is in the mean streets of wherever the hell he lives in, looking for the glory holes in the walls of the backyards of the stiffest neighborhoods in the world.
Very stiff out there in the mean streets of the 8 Mile. But you know what? Truth be told, Reflectionites, TW,
where is he?
Was spending all night to be front row at a Taylor Swift concert at Grand Rapids, Michigan. He had to do that. He had to do it for his Wonderlings. He had to watch Tiffany. He had to watch Debbie Gibson. He had to watch Taylor Swift. So I don't know who is performing at this particular juncture, but he is doing it for the Wonderlings. That's all I know. But neither here nor there.
That's a shoot?
That's part of a shoot. Yes, he is going for a concert. I just don't know who it is. But I know it's some female. It could be a Mickey Mouse, one of those former Mickey Mouse whores. Who knows that is singing right now.
Tommy's at the 40-year-old overweight Britney Spears concert. That's what he's doing right now.
Well, you know what? Truth be told, I do it with Britney. I don't care. She's got badonkadonk.
Yeah, she is. She's kind of thick. She's kind of thick. You know. And just so you know, guys, real quick, I'm getting over a cold, so I'm gonna be a little sniffly and sneezy and stuffy ached. But I'm fine. I'm happy to be here, Professor. I got to tell you real quick, man. It is an absolute fucking honor to be on this show. This is my baby.
Mm-hmm.
We started this shit way back at onewrestling.com when we were doing the Big Slam Nation gimmick with Bill Schuyler. You remember that? That's how far this shit. How long ago is that?
Like 6 years, maybe 7.
I think 7 years. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Almost a decade we've been doing this shit. But anyway, I'm really fucking happy to be here. You guys, I say this to you guys off the air all the time, and I might have said this on the air a couple of times, but this is my favorite podcast, not just because it's my baby, but because of the chemistry between you and Tommy. It's almost like you guys are married. It's awesome. You guys are hilarious. You guys feed off each other well. And it's great because you have a historian like yourself and you have a guy that actually did it in the ring for so many fucking years and still does it occasionally. So, dude, it's fucking cool to listen to you guys. Your rapport, your back and forth. And I'm going to try to do my best to carry on. I'll be counting knee pads. Mm-hmm. We'll do a death count. So as we we'll see how many people died, and we'll make fun of Tommy Wonder. So
of course, that's number one. We have to make fun of TW throughout this whole show as best as we can. But neither here nor there. Of course, it has to be. It's a misnomer. Even TW knows this, but neither here nor there. But truth be told, maybe even TW. This might not be a rib, but this might be kayfabe. I don't know. TW might have conspicuously, I don't know if this is a conspiracy theory, might have bowed out of this particular episode because you picked this. TW doesn't like some of the picks that I had. He has told me, is this a rib, Professor, that I picked a certain episodic episode? Is this a rib, Professor, that you picked this spotlight? Is this a rib, Professor, that you picked this one? Is this of course, the movies is always a rib if I pick a bad movie. So, I have to ask you this, Ray. Is this a rib to the Professor that you picked this episodic episode for us this week?
It's not a rib because looking back at this pay-per-view, and so I was on YouTube and this shit popped up. Like it literally just popped up in my timeline. I'm like, I forgot about this shit. So I went back to the Wikipedias, as you would say, and I said to myself, I looked at the lineup, right? And I looked at how old the guys were, and I looked at the time. It was 1999, October 10th. I'm like, shit, the lineup actually seems pretty decent. Everybody in this lineup is a worker. And then we'll talk about obviously the announce crew, because one of the guys, Gordon Soley, wasn't able to show up for the actual show. They were promoting him and stuff like that. So
hold up, Ray. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah, I'm doing what Tommy does all the time. I'm so sorry.
I have to at least let the Reflectionites, the Magnificent Seven, the Elite Eight, the Naughty Nine, the Terrific 10 know what we do. And this is episodic episode number 166. We are doing what is deemed. This has been deemed on Wikipedia. This has been deemed by the IWC as the quote-unquote worst pay-per-view in professional wrestling history, Heroes of Wrestling from October of 1999. Go ahead, Ray. Finish your spiel right there. I just want to let the people know what this is.
No, dude. So I looked at it. What was it? It came for us from the Casino Magic Hotel, and was it in St. Louis, Mississippi? Yeah. And I was like, all right, let me just look at this lineup. So I looked at the entire lineup of the show, and like I was saying, I said, everybody here now. Hear me out. There's a difference, and Tommy knows this, and you know this too. There's a difference between wrestlers and workers, and everybody on this fucking gimmick is a worker. But we're gonna have some fun talking about the announce team, because I think old Dirty Dutch Mantel fucking threw that Gimmick Jones under the bus a bunch of times. We get Captain Lou up. I mean, it's fucking insane, and
very insane.
You're gonna be surprised though, because as I rewatched this pay-per-view, I said to myself, it ain't half bad, except for certain things. So I guess we can get into that in a bit, but I'm going to follow your lead, brother.
Well, we'll get into that, but...
Are you recording from a pinhole camera, like when I was a PI?
Well, you know what? The Professor does have a glory hole. So
okay,
I just want to do the glory hole special for the Reflectionites out there. For all the ladies that slide into the DMs. No, TW, it's not the dudes. It's the,
be careful.
The females. Yes.
Be careful. Tommy could be slipping through there in a way that you don't want to.
I have like an alarm system to make sure that it's, if the man try to slip in there, they'll get an electric shock.
Choppy pee-pee.
That too. I need to, I need to bolster up my security, but neither here nor there. But anyway, this is Heroes of Wrestling Reflectionites from October of 1999. And Ray, before we even get into the card, the untapped potential card, as you probably will say, the landscape of the business. It's apropos. WCW Monday Nitro is doing its thing. Monday Night Raw is doing its thing. We know that both Raw and Nitro on any given Monday in 1999 was beating a very subpar Monday Night Football game. So it would behoove this promoter named Bill Stone to take advantage of this money train of wrestling that is going on. The Monday Night Wars was a money train for USA Network, was a money train for TNT to a degree. We know we don't have to go into the logistics of WCW's financial troubles, but from the optics of the fans, being a wrestling fan, we were loud, we were proud, we had our NWO shirts, we had our DX shirts, Austin shirts. So what say you? Because you have to at least give kudos to Bill Stone, this was his brainchild to try to bring, maybe I guess you could say this was the PWR pay-per-view, you could say. He was trying to bring back a certain nostalgic factor because, again, for, let's say the conservative people that did not like the over-the-top antics of WWE with the Jerry Springer type atmosphere. They didn't like, the curse words. They didn't like the suckets, the ass words, saying all the dirty words out there. You had a good, viable alternative with this nostalgic presentation. What say you, Ray?
All right. So, like you said, the landscape, WWE and WCW were really hot. WWE was super white hot. WCW was starting, it had started that steady decline towards 2001. This gave the ability. Now, when I looked at this pay-per-view, you hear me out here. I was like, shit, is this the birth of TNA? Because like that's what TNA was. If you really think about it, it was the land of misfit toys. It was a place where if you couldn't get a job at WCW, if you couldn't get a job at WWF, you can get on TV, you can do some pay-per-views and stuff like that, and you can work and you can earn a living, kind of. You know what I'm saying? Working for TNA. So this gave the ability for a lot of these workers, a lot of these older wrestlers that probably didn't have. I don't remember if in 1999, and correct me if I'm wrong, that they have a lot of those old school wrestling conventions and signings and stuff like that as much as they do now, like WrestleCon and all that stuff. So I'm wondering
I think this was in its infant stages.
Right.
To answer your question. So it wasn't as, really the operations of a WrestleCon. I want to use WrestleCon as an example. It was in its infant stages, trying to take advantage, trying to rub off on what's going on with the Monday Night Wars. Of course, ECW was happening in 1999 too. So, for these particular people in this, let's say in this show, right. You know where they were working. They were working in the armories. They were working in the high schools. If they weren't getting booked, Ray, on the major 3 in North America, they were doing this. So this was a great opportunity for them. So I'm giving you, you're right on that aspect.
I'm also wondering if this event was supposed to be like the beginning, like was this the double or nothing of this promotion or whatever the hell it was? Not double. What was the first AEW pay-per-view?
Double or nothing.
It was double or nothing. Yeah. So is that what this was? Like I'm looking at this, I'm like, this could be the birth. Like this could be like the prelude to the Double or Nothing TNAs. I think we're underestimating the importance of this pay-per-view because I don't really recall. I mean, you had your indie shows that had a couple of guys that were known, or 1 or 2 guys, or a main eventer that was known. That was the guy that's going to draw the money of the girl. But here, it was everybody pretty much in this, except for like 1 or 2 guys. Actually, one guy, I forgot his name, Spanish kid. We'll talk about him later. That everybody was a main eventer somewhere. Everybody was a champion somewhere. Everybody was over somewhere, and the whole card was full. Now, I really wanted to talk, and don't let's not forget about talking about Mr. Randy Rosenblum.
Oh, I wasn't going to forget that.
Okay, all right.
I'm not going to forget that.
That's amazing.
For the logistic purposes, Reflectionites, before we even talk about certain matches, because again, it is a who's who of nostalgia right here, because they were, mid-card, upper mid-card type of wrestlers. There's no doubt about that. But we have to talk about the commentary duo of Randy Rosenblum and the Dirty Dutch Mantel. And Ray, we have to at least, with the logistics. Randy Rosenblum was actually a substitute announcer. It wasn't supposed to be Randy Rosenblum. It was supposed to be Gordon Soley, but he was falling ill to his, I think it was cancer or whatever. It was the last years of Gordon Soley's life. So he couldn't even make the trip to St. Louis, Mississippi for this. He couldn't do that. So they got a substitute named Randy Rosenblum. So, Ray, let's talk about Randy Rosenblum because, he did not know a wrist lock from a wristwatch. He did not know what the hell was going on in the ring. And my question, or just, your conspiracy theory, because Bill Stone got a lot of the nostalgic people. I can think off the top of my head, at least nostalgic commentators that he could have called. If you got Dirty Dutch Mantel, you could have got Lance Russell.
Anybody.
You could have got like the dude Christopher Cruz. You could have got maybe the people from World Class. I forgot his name off the top of my head.
What about the golden voice of AWA?
Oh, you're right. Yeah, the golden voice.
The
Rod
voice
Trongard.
The voice of Tony the Tiger. They're great.
Yeah, Rod Trongard. You could have got that. So what say you, Ray, about the commentary stylings of Randy Rosenblum? We already know he sucked, but did he bring down the pay-per-view of this untapped potential that you saw on the pay-per-view?
No, and I'll tell you why. It was fucking great, and I'll tell you why it was great to me. Because you got this old fucking curmudgeon in Dirty Dutch Mantel, who is a fucking worker. That guy is a goddamn worker. He's still working right now. He's a podcaster and he has his own show and shit. The guy is he is an absolute worker. So you got this old school wrestling curmudgeon who's probably sick and tired of the BS that's happening, with the WWF, with WCW and all that stuff. He's not really working except for probably the indies and stuff. He's working with this dude that to everything was a fucking slam. What I'm saying is that if a guy did a suplex, it was a slam. If a guy jumped off the top rope onto the guy, it was a slam. And Dirty Dutch Mantel, it was funny. And
don't forget, a drop kick was just a leg kick.
It was a leg kick. Yes. Bro. There was this, so I noticed something, and maybe I'm being too meticulous, and you guys should really go back. It's on YouTube. Like, you can find it easy. It's up there, like, for free. This pay-per-view. The first segment of this pay-per-view, Dutch Mantel seemed like he wasn't having this shit. Like, he didn't want to work with this guy at all. Mm-hmm. And he was burying him the whole time, right? Cut away to the next segment, and even though Dutch Mantel still kind of fucked with him, you could tell that there was a difference. Maybe like the promoter was like, listen, be easy on this guy. He's doing us a favor. He came in, and this guy was a sports anchor from like Southern California. He was like a last minute, guy they called in.
Right.
But it's true, Professor. Like, how come you couldn't have called in anybody? Like any, how many freaking guys that were out of, who, if you had the opportunity to pick one guy to do the play-by-play instead of freaking, because Dutch Mantel he was supposed to be, it was weird. It's like they had two color commentators because Rosenblum didn't know what the hell he was doing. Dutch Mantel was supposed to be color, and he's calling most of the moves or correcting this dude because he was the shit.
Probably Rosenblum was maybe supposed to be Mike Tenay. You know what I mean? The ultra analyst to be more sports centric.
Mike Tenay. They could have called him.
Well, he was under contract with WCW at the time, so he couldn't do that. True. So the only thing that makes sense would be Lance Russell or anybody in the USWA. I forget the other guy's name. Dave Brown. You could have had Dave Brown and Dirty Dutch Mantel. They have chemistry. Lance Russell and Dirty Dutch Mantel. They have chemistry together, and they know each other. They can feed off of each other, Reflection Nights. So, Randy Rosenblum, God bless his soul. I'm not saying he's dead. TW will correct us if he is, but
Well, I'm gonna find out if he's dead or not.
Okay, thank you very much, Ray.
Mm-hmm.
The gatekeeper will be Ray for this particular episodic episode of the PWR podcast. But I'll say this, Reflection Nights, as Ray alluded to. This is untapped potential because, it is a who's who. But Ray, we have to be honest here. These were main eventers of the 80s. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be nice. It was the mid 80s, the early 80s. We're getting to 1999, and these guys are pushing 50. Some of these guys are pushing 50. Some of these guys, you remember the WCW Slamboree pay-per-views where you had one of those nostalgic matches? Yes, on paper is good, but reality sets in. This is not a video game. This is not a WWE video game. This is not AEW Fight Forever, Ray. Mm-hmm. So before we even say anything, because I count on my hand, and I'm being honest, 3 matches that were decent, 2 for athleticism and 1 for storytelling. That's all I will say. And we'll talk about it a little bit later. But let's say, because again, reality sets in for certain people. I mean, we can name some names that shouldn't have been wrestling. Right. I mean, Greg the Hammer Valentine, in WCW, on WCW Saturday nights, he could give you 4 good minutes. But this is a pay-per-view where you need him to, carry the card. Right. George the Animal Steel, he wasn't relevant in the 90s. We have to be honest with ourselves. We could talk about, we will talk about Jake the Snake Roberts, in full detail. So let's say about certain wrestlers that were already past their prime, trying to hang on to whatever is left. Let me ask you this, as a fan, as a wrestling aficionado, and as a fan itself. When you see these wrestlers, TW always says this: if you don't know how to, hold on to your money, you understand why they're doing this. So, are you feeling sad for them? Are you laughing at them? What say you, Ray?
Am I feeling sad for them? I'm not going to feel sad for them necessarily, because the truth is that these guys were getting paid. They had a job. So I was happy to see that these guys were working. But if you run down like some of the teams that, like, let's say right now, the Samoan SWAT team, those guys look like they could still work. Marty Jannetty came in with a fucking pair of jeans that he cut up into fucking shorts. That was kind of pathetic in my humble opinion.
I think he partied the night before at the casinos and then forgot. He lost all his money at the craps tables and had to put on somebody's pants. That's how I'll say that.
He probably lost everything, including his gear. Tommy Rogers. We had Greg the Hammer Valentine, who was older, but he could still kind of put together. I mean, this match went less than 7 minutes, but it still went. And the fact is that George Steele wrestled the same type of match for like 20 years straight. He didn't do much. He bit, he grabbed you, he fucking, did the hey you. He did the whole crazy shit where he's following you around the ring. That was a George Steele match. So that kind of worked. Then you got the match. You got Too Cold Scorpio, who again still looked like he can go. A little.
That match is actually one of the matches.
One of my favorite matches.
It was one of the favorite matches because of the athleticism.
And then we're going to talk about Julio Fantastico, who I don't know whatever happened to that kid. I guess we can look him up here. But let's continue.
Did a couple of ECW, kind of like appearances, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong there because I remember seeing there were a couple of Spanish influxes in the late 90s after like the Rey Mysterios and the Psicosises moved to WCW. Then these were the C and D ECW Mexican luchadors after like Pedro, I forgot his name. Oh, Pablo Marquez, Puerto Rican.
Right.
So let me just go into another match.
Well, let me ask you. Let me answer your question. You asked me if I felt sorry for anybody.
Okay.
The only two guys that I really felt sorry for, excuse me for coughing, was fucking three guys. Was Jake the Snake Roberts. Actually, four guys. I felt sorry for four guys. Like legit, like I felt sad. Jake the Snake Roberts, Yokozuna, the Iron Sheik, and Nikolai Volkov. Those are four people that I felt sorry for, and we'll get into that later.
All right. So let me give you, in my humble opinion, one of the matches that was good, because of the athleticism. Also, I'm not going to say it was great storytelling, Ray. I'm not saying it was great psychology, but it was just great athleticism. You talked about it. The Samoan SWAT team, Samu and the Samoan Savage, against, I'm going to call them the Rocktastics of Marty Jannetty and Tommy Rogers. And the reason why it was good athletically was because Marty Jannetty carried the whole fucking match.
Sure did.
I don't know if he had heat with Tommy Rogers. Maybe he did not like the Fantastics. Maybe, there was some rift between each other, like the Rockers. You are a fake ass Rockers. Tommy Rogers and Bobby Fulton cannot hold a candle to Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. You could feel the tension between the Rocktastics. That's the way I looked at it from my eyes. What say you, Ray, about the Rocktastics against the SST?
I thought this was a good match. There was a point in the match, right? So the match kicked off, or somewhere in the middle of the match, where Marty Jannetty is firing up, right? Because he's getting attacked by both Samoan SWAT team. Now, this was the moment for who was his tag team partner again?
Tommy Rogers.
Tommy Rogers. Tommy Rogers was supposed to come in and help him clean house, but Marty Jannetty didn't let him. He took all the heat.
Yeah.
Off of fucking, so yeah, I could see what you were saying there. Like you could see there was no chemistry between the two guys. But like for an opening match, all four guys looked to be in great wrestling shape. The Samoans looked, they were big, they're big Samoan guys. So of course they're gonna look the way they did. They looked fucking good. They were moving around well. But I couldn't help, and I know Tommy, if Tommy was here, he would say the same shit. If you are a legend in the business and you work one of these indie events, motherfucker, bring a pair of tights with you. Like legit, he was wearing, it looked like, those workman jeans that you just wear to work every day and you wash them so much they start turning gray. Yeah. It was like that, a pair of black jeans.
And he cut him, I think he cut him.
He cut him in the fucking shorts, dude. And what kind of, I was like, come on, like no tassels on his arms, nothing. He was the rocker. No, he was the rocker. Marty Jannetty came in like a bump. His boy, his tag team partner, looked phenomenal. He looked great shape. He did a couple of ECW shows in '98 too. So Tommy Rogers wasn't no slouch. And the reason I said there was tension with the Rocktastics is you could see it. Marty Jannetty controlled the whole match. Tommy Rogers was probably visibly upset, but the checks cleared. You could tell, like, I don't have to put no effort into this. So before we even talk about more of the card, let's just say, the logistics, Ray, because Bill Stone is the guy who put it all together, funded this,
put it, had the casino, he rented out the casino. But what do you say with the whole card here? Shouldn't have Bill Stone said to maybe like Dutch Mantel, why don't you tell these guys what to do? Be like the booker of the night. So this way, we can have a good flow, a good fluidity, as Walt Clyde Frazier would say, from the New York Knicks.
I'll tell you what. Let's talk about first and foremost the attendance.
Okay.
So I can only imagine how much each wrestler was getting paid for this fucking show.
Mm-hmm.
So the buy rate on this, I have all the information. I don't know if you have it in front of you, but the buy rate was 29,000 people bought this thing.
At probably $30 a pop, give or take.
Maybe. I don't know what the price is. Maybe $19.99. Who knows? It was the year 1999. So, and then it was an attendance of 2,300 people.
Now the question is, of the 2,300, did they pay for this, or was this part of their complimentary drinks? So you can gamble your ass off at the casino, but then come in and enjoy a match while you're having free liquor. I'm just saying. All
I'm gonna say is that the casino, that venue was really dimly lit, so you know that they fucking moved everybody to the L. The L which is where the hard cam. They call it the L in the arenas where the hard cam kind of shoots, so you could get the reaction from all the fucking crowd and shit. A lot of kids in the audience, and I don't know if this show was totally kid friendly. Let's just say that. We'll talk about Jake the Snake Roberts later.
I don't think it was kid friendly either. But, again, Bill Stone wanted to capture that, let's just say Americana. Because, again, with the 80s wrestlers, the 80s nostalgic stuff, I think Bill Stone watched a lot of WWF. I don't think he watched a lot of NWA. Because if he did, he probably would have not. He would try to book more former WWF stars, former cartoon characters to go with his vision of the nostalgia. That's just me. I'll just go with that. So one of the matches, the next match after that, Ray, had a storyline. It wasn't that good in terms of in-ring ability. But we talk about Greg the Hammer Valentine against George the Animal Steele, who was accompanied for some strange reason by sensational Queen Sherry. And, the camera was back there, when George the Animal Steele and Sherry Martel was checking in, they were lovey-dovey, they were kissing, they were flirting with each other. But then the match, like you said, Ray, lasted under 7 minutes. And Sherry Martel, I guess, Greg the Hammer Valentine must have won at the craps table. Must have won at blackjack because he had more money.
They do call him the Hammer, so it could have been something else.
He had his hammer was still working in the 90s, Reflection Nights. Don't
know if George the Animal Steele's hammer is still working. Just saying.
Well, think about this, Ray. I mean, would you want to get licked with a green tongue, or would you want to get hit with the hammer? I'm just saying. Well, the choice is obvious. You go with the hammer.
A lot of women will take great fellatio over a big hammer.
But if it's a green tongue, Ray.
Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe it has maybe it's ribbed for her pleasure. I don't know.
If you don't know where that tongue has been, it could be infected with COVID in 1999, and it wasn't even called COVID. That's what I'm just saying.
AIDS. It's always AIDS.
There you go, Ray. That's what it was. It was infected with AIDS. But the turn happened. Sherry Martel went to the side of Greg the Hammer Valentine, and of course helped Greg Valentine defeat George the Animal Steele. And of course, George the Animal Steele, like you said, Ray, he didn't change his gimmick from the 80s. He bit the ring corner, he bit the turnbuckle, and he actually caused a delay because of what he did. Because this was the second match on the card. So what say you, Ray? Because like you said, this was a dimly lit casino, and of course the production had to pivot a lot of times here. And you could say that the microphones were working, but let's just stick with the match because George the Animal Steele caused the delay that probably the production people and Bill Stone was like, oh God, I forgot he does this shit. What say you, Ray?
First, I got to put over that the Samoan SWAT team went over in that match. Second, moving forward, I got to mention, bro, the camera work was the shit in this fucking, they were missing pivotal moves. There were wrestlers that were going for their finishers, and you would catch it as they dropped the finisher or whatever. It was just terrible. They were cutting away to the audience for some reason at times that I didn't understand. But what was your question again? It just pissed me off, man. This shit fucking really annoyed me.
You actually answered some of my question. I said the production was very bad, and then George the Animal Steele himself called production to pivot because this was a delay. Because I don't know if they forgot what George the Animal Steele does for a living.
Well, So we get the storyline, like you said, of Sherry Martel, right? And now you're talking about production. But production was the shits. I'll leave it at that. All right. It was just terrible. Really poor.
You can remind the Reflectionites as many times as you want how bad the production was. Very bad.
The lighting in that fucking arena looked like the shit. This was a glorified indie event, which it was. That's what it was. But and I'll retract and go back to what I said before. I can only imagine how much money they had lost on this thing, but neither here nor there. So we get Sherry. She comes in. She leaves fucking George Steele for Greg the Big Cock Valentine. And during this match, you could tell that the Dirty Dutch Mantel, I don't know if you pinpointed this, was trying to work around the fact that they were going over on time or whatever. But it was weird because, and hear me out, the booker who's supposed to run the show, they had a lot of time between matches, but then they rushed through some shit. So it was just what it seemed to me, and I don't know if it seemed this way to you, and I don't know if when Tommy listens back and, the Magnificent Seven listens back, if they actually will agree with this, that the wrestlers ran the show. The inmates ran the asylum. They made all the calls. They did they booked all the finishes. I'm sure they negotiated between themselves how long the matches are going to be, so on and so forth. That's not the way it's supposed to be. The booker, the pencil, the person at Gorilla is the person that makes the call. And this was
that's why you and I probably agreed. Dirty Dutch Mantel should have been the bookers. Just say
absolutely.
Keep it simple. We have, with Greg Valentine and George Steele, I'm sure that Mantel could have booked it better to have a better outcome or something like that. That's the way I look at it.
I did like the finish though, Professor. Like the story, even though the story didn't make sense to anyone that knows professional wrestling, like why the hell would Sherry be with George the Animal Steele? You don't know. Listen, man, Sherry Martel hadn't worked in a long time.
Well, I have no problem that the story was that she liked him and they were lovey-dovey. You had to have some kind of thing to draw the fans. That was good. So it was a good 80s swerve that she did betray Animal Steele.
Well, what I'm saying is that, Sherry Martel hadn't worked in a long time. And, she's probably cold and hungry. And, hey, listen, people don't know this. George Steele was also a professor. So I'm sure he had a nice pension. Along with the money he made in WWE. So he had a nice.
Did you notice did you notice how George the Animal Steele was like night and day when he was checking into the hotel? He was suave and debonair.
That is true.
And he was like straight laced. Then once the bell rings,
exactly.
So, but he didn't have the green tongue. He was consistent with the green tongue. He kept the kayfabe alive. That's all I will say. So
he did. I thought. Listen, man, for what it was, I thought this was. But again, you're looking at two pros, two people that have done this for many, many years. They probably worked how many matches and how many towns together and how many different organizations together, all three. And Sensational Sherry is just the best, period. Like she's one of my favorite female managers and wrestlers of all time. So, you know what, man, this match, like I said, went I think it was 6 minutes and something seconds. I thought it was just fine.
Well, again, the storyboard was there. Like you said, they worked with each other to make sure that this worked for as best as it could. So we'll just leave it like that. So the second match on the Professor's scale of great athleticism is what we'll talk about, because Too Cold Scorpio was still doing his thing in 1999, no matter what. If it was WCW, if it was ECW, if it was WWE. Glad he wasn't Flash Funk here, because, Bill Stone would have pissed me off if he was Flash Funk. But it was funny that Too Cold Scorpio was bringing a generic $399 replica NWA World Heavyweight title into the ring, and he was fighting Julio Fantastico. Again, this match was great for the purpose of two guys in their prime. Julio Fantastico was, I think, a substitute because they wanted somebody else, but they got signed to a WWE developmental deal. So Julio Fantastico was a last-minute substitution. So I'm just giving you the logistics here, right? But they did the best. But there is, a faux pas. There is something that I have to be critical of, and that was the end. And Too Cold Scorpio missed his entire move. I thought I had to rewind it.
You thought he hit the kid. You thought he hit the kid. Yeah.
Shout outs to Fantastico because he sold it like, he got hit by John Cena. You can't see him. That's the way it was. It was the John Cena move, but it was like, did Too Cold Scorpio did not even hit him at all? He didn't. What say you, Ray? Because again, the athleticism was there by both of them. But again, there was no psychology. They just went into business for each other. They got their moves out. You know, they got their moves of doom, if you want to say it. And of course, Too Cold Scorpio has seniority. He was like, I'm going to win this, kid. You ain't winning. So what say you about this match?
All right, so let's give a little background. So the kid, you may know him out there if you guys were fans of TNA and all the shit. He was Julio De Niro. Does that name ring a bell? You remember that?
Name. Mm-hmm.
That name rings a bell. Started in 1994, and he actually retired, I think, around 2010, 2011. So he ran the Indies. He was all over the place. The guy, I'm looking at some of his stuff right now. The guy fucking won tons and tons of title, wrestled for the NWA, Impact Wrestling, everything. So the kid had a pretty decent, indie career. He's still alive, apparently. I don't know what the hell he's doing now. But now you asked me about this match. And this was, hands down, the best match of the night. Best match of the night. The finish was weird. And I have a problem with this show. And this is why I'm not happy with the way this show is booked. And see if you understand this. The fans went home with blue balls. And I'll explain to you what I mean. They went home with blue balls because they were a number of times that they were waiting for a payoff. What am I talking about? When you go to an independent wrestling event, and let's say you have, let's throw a name, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, right, Professor? I'm going to ask you a question. If you are going to an independent wrestling event and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff is there, what do you want to see to go home happy?
I want to see him execute the pile driver, and I will go home happy.
Right. You have the fans doing the whirly twirly gimmick, saying, "Hey, do the 450, do the 450." He's looking like he's gonna do the 450. No, you're left with blue balls. He did a fucking flippity flop off the second rope, something fucking safe that he totally missed by a mile, and went home on that. And you could tell the fans were like, "Oh, God damn it, we won a 450," and they're doing this with their fucking fingers. You can't see this on the fucking podcast, but I'm going. They're doing. I was like, "What the?" And this happened a couple of times during this. We'll talk about that later.
He is what girls are today, cock teasers. So he was doing the cock tease with the whirling derbies. So I actually, it could be debatable. I mean, he did twirl when he did the finishing maneuver. It wasn't the 450. You're right. It wasn't the 450 splash that he was famous for, but it was a flip to a degree. I have to give him that. Of course, Too Cold Scorpio is my favorite untapped potential professional wrestler of all time. So I have to give, maybe I'm a little biased here, so I'm protecting him.
We did see a Greg Valentine figure 4 attempt.
No, we didn't.
Just putting that out there. I'm just throwing that out there. So
there was blue balls in a lot of matches. So you are right in that instance. So I have to at least acknowledge a match reflection night, because Big Ray said he felt sorry for Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik.
Yeah.
But maybe you had to feel a little bit, and I'm not going to say totally sorry, but you had to feel a little bit sorry for the Bushwhackers, or for logistic purposes, formerly known as the Bushwhackers, because Bill Stone was going to get sued by Vince McMahon.
What do they call them?
They were formerly known. They had to keep saying
the men from down under.
Yeah, the men from down under, the official name. But they were formerly known as the Bushwhackers because Bill Stone was afraid to get cease and desist letters from Vince McMahon and Titan Talent. But you had to feel sorry for all 4 competitors. You felt sorry for 2 of them because Iron Sheik was getting older, and of course he couldn't move as fast and as limber as he was. No. Nikolai Volkov, again, this is why I keep saying about that statement, Ray. Do you feel sad for certain people because they have to, get a paycheck? I'm not mad at people getting a paycheck. I don't knock the hustle, but it's like, and I'll have to say this, it's like when I saw Ric Flair wrestle in the 2000s. I want to remember the guys that I love in their prime. When I see them here, it's just a shell of themselves. And I'm just like, nah, this is not who you should be. So what say you about this? And the Bushwhackers, the funny thing is, we did a PWR episode where we, highlighted some tag teams. Bushwhackers, again, the Sheep Herders and the Bushwhackers. You could have called. They could have did the sheep herder gimmick here, and there would have been no qualms from Vince McMahon to do anything. But they knew where their bread was buttered. They had to do the Bushwhacker gimmick. So let's say about this match here, Ray, because again, this was not a Meltzer 5-star classic. No. All you saw was, You barely saw punches. They barely got their legs above the ground. So what say you about this match?
All right. So first, before I get into the match, let's do a quick death count. Let's see.
Okay.
So both Samoan SWAT team members are alive, right?
They should be.
Yeah,
No,
I believe so.
They should be, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So they're both all right. So right now, we have George Animal Steel, dead.
Mm-hmm.
We have Nikolai Volkov, dead.
Mm-hmm.
Am I missing anybody? So far, 2 dead?
Maybe one of the Bushwhackers might have died, I think.
No, I think they're both alive and kicking.
Okay, cool.
They're both doing all right. So far we got 2 dead. All right, now you asked me about this fucking show, this match right here. All right, let me just really just give me a second, guys. So when these 2 teams were doing their tag team gimmick, so when Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik were winning a tag team championship in the WWF, they were already getting to the point where they were getting past their prime. They were actually well past their prime. Both, that's when they put them in the tag team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward 10, 15 years later, these guys are still in the ring. The Bushwhackers, when they came to the WWF, the reason why they became, fan-friendly, whatever gimmick, not only because they were kind of too small. I'm sure Vince McMahon looked at them saying they're too small to be, world beaters, even though they were one of the most feared tag teams of all time, all over the world, in the Sheepherders. But they came and they did the whole comedy thing. They had been wrestling for freaking at least well over a decade, or maybe more, almost 15 years when they went to the WWF. Fast forward 15 years later. So we're seeing teams that we grew up watching that were already moving at half speed, moving at half speed in this match.
Did you feel like that? Wait, is my slow motion button still on?
Bro.
I'm trying to fast forward, and it still didn't work.
I put over to you that me and my wife last night were up till fucking 5 a.m. playing. We started at, was it 1 o'clock in the morning? So we were playing Ninja Turtles on Xbox, the Shredder's Revenge. We beat the game. It went for like 3.5 hours. We were trying to beat this damn thing. But anyway, I was exhausted. But I got up in the morning and I watched this fucking pay-per-view. And goddamn, was it hard to stay awake during this shit.
Hey, if you have insomnia, Reflection Nights, Heroes of Wrestling does help. That's all I'm just saying. It's better than NyQuil.
So listen, you get the men from down under. You get the men from down under, yeah. They go over, right? They go over. How the hell they win? How do they win that match? Do you remember?
I think that the referee just said, "God damn, this is bad," because he just counted the 3 so fast that he just wanted the match to end. I think he might have got something in his ear to like end this, or he got a signal. It felt like really weird because they were kicking. They were hardly, their legs were hardly. They were kicking shins. I'm not even lying. They were kicking shins with each other, and then the Iron Sheik could barely lift his leg. I was feeling sad for it, but I remember. Weird.
They had brought that gimmick, that weapon gimmick into the ring, and they were beating each other out with it. And Nikolai Volkov hit the Iron Sheik by mistake. Iron Sheik got knocked out, got pissed off. He got pinned, and that's how the Bushwhackers went over. And then after the match, they had the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov. Did you see that manager they had? Who the fuck was that?
The fake ass Putin?
Bro, he looked. I thought he was a German. I thought he was a Nazi.
I thought it was Randy Rosenblum working double duty.
Bro, I don't know what the he looked like. He looked like a librarian, like a tall librarian with a Nazi gimmick on. It was crazy. He was supposed to be Russian. His Russian accent was the shit, by the way, too. Sorry.
I think he was one of the rejects from the Avengers movies. So
I'm cursing too much. I'm sorry, Pastor Travis Fultz, full-time Pastor Travis Fultz. That's
I think. Well, as long as you say Hail Marys and your Our Fathers, Pastor Travis will bless you and forgive you. As it is said in the Bible. Okay. So let's go into the next match that the professor loved because there was already a backstory. There was a fire promo before the match.
Yeah.
But yet the ending left you with blue balls. And the blue balls wasn't because of the way it was the production gave me blue balls. The commentary team gave me blue balls because they did not expect it coming. And that was Tully Blanchard and Sweet Stan Lane. Ray, again, everything before this match was fire. The promo from Tully Blanchard selling this match made it the best storytelling match of the night. You said that Scorpio and Fantastico, best athletic match of the night. This was the best story building match of the pay-per-view, and Tully Blanchard sold it great, but then the ending sucked so bad. Again, I'm not expecting him to go 30 minutes. I'm not expecting a Meltzer Classic. Again, Tully Blanchard's a little bit older. Sweet Stan Lane's a little bit older, and he's mending his injuries because, again, he retired earlier in the 90s because of his injuries. Tully Blanchard wasn't getting booked a lot. So, again, we expected that. But their psychology was on point.
Oh, beautiful.
But the production fucked up a nice finish. Again, with Tully, and again, if Tully Blanchard and Sweet Stan Lane agree to that, it's fine. But if you did not tell Dirty Dutch Mantel, and if you did not tell Randy Rosenblum, and if you did not tell the cameraman to make it work, they had to. Dutch Mantel had to fix the fuck ups.
Yeah, sell it.
But this was the best match of the night to me, the best storytelling match. But the finish, again, I blame everything else besides the two guys in the ring. What say you, Ray?
First, I gotta love the way Sweet Stan Lane came to the ring, right? So, excuse me, cough button. So he comes to the ring wearing this really cool, shiny, jacket, with his hair all blonde. He's in good shape, putting over the fact that he's working with ESPN. He worked with the WWF.
If you blinked your eyes, he looked like like Shane Douglas. If you blinked your eyes, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. He came into the ring. He grabbed the microphone. He taught that stupid, ham and egger ring announcer how to do his job properly. And he came down, coming to the ring, Sweet Stanley. He did the fucking nice, gimmick. Like Buffer, what's his name? Mike Buffer, Bill Buffer, whatever the hell his name is. Let's get rid of the Rumble guy. And it was great. So you had this guy who, the story is, you have this wrestler in Tully Blanchard who was the cream of the crop, 4 Horsemen. But let's be real, everybody at that time knew that he was kind of struggling a little bit, whether it be his alcoholism or I think it was drugs or something like that. He was wrestling.
It was alcohol and gambling, I think.
Alcohol and gambling. He pretty much gone broke, and he was wrestling in these shitty indie events. And Sweet Stanley, I ain't got to do that. I'm working for ESPN, baby. They both look great in the ring. This match went 7:04, so it went over 7 minutes. But I tell you what, you're right, man. The finish it's like they're building. There's a lot of fire and heat between these two wrestlers, and they're putting together a pretty decent match for guys their age. But a belly to back suplex, and they did the whole gimmick where Tully put up his shoulder before the 3 count, and nobody in the audience seemed to know what the fuck happened. It was like dead silence. And even after the announcement was made, it was kind of like people still seem confused, even though they figured out that Tully Blanchard won. It was like a crescendo. You know what it was? I'll tell you what it was, Professor. I don't hope we don't get thrown off the air. But you know how Tommy Wonder, he's usually at the glory hole? It's like before he finishes, he just gets up and walks away with that poor guy just standing with his, gimmick.
Yeah, he's waiting he's waiting to get his thirst, quench his thirst, but
it's never going to happen.
Right.
Never gonna happen. And by the way, Tommy, when you're on a cruise, it's not safe to drill holes in the wall of a cruise ship. So stop doing that.
Well, it was an orgy booze cruise, so you had to drill some holes.
That poor son of a bitch. He got so twisted off of ginger beer and what was it? Ginger beer and rum?
I forgot it was rum, tequila, or something like that. But it was complimentary, so
God damn, it was ginger beer mixed with, which is delicious. But man, after like that 12th one that he took a picture of and put up on Facebook, I'm like, God damn, this guy's liver must look like an onion. Anyway,
and you can understand why he was scratching a lot, and I was laughing at the last PWR episode because he was just scratching his ass off. Like because of the ginger beer, he forgot to get the suntan lotion on the proper areas. But neither here nor there. But again, the production fucked up this great match, this great storytelling match. So but I forgot to mention that during this broadcast that Bill Stone put out a presser during this pay-per-view. The promoter of Heroes of Wrestling, Bill Stone, put out a presser that only the people who bought the pay-per-view knew, that Heroes of Wrestling needed a commissioner, and he appointed Captain Lou Albano as the Heroes of Wrestling commissioner. Now, I forget which match he did commentary for. So it might have not been the Tully Blanchard, it might have been the one before it, but neither here nor there, Ray. But Captain Lou Albano, he's a good sidekick, but he's not a great commentator either. And, what say you about, trying to, again, this is another guy that you grew up in the 80s, grew up in the 70s too, because he was one of the top heel managers of all time. And then, of course, his waning days, he did the thing with Cyndi Lauper, Rocket Wrestling, and of course, his fight for multiple sclerosis. He's very, he was a champion for that. But of course, in the 90s, Captain Lou Albano was trying to stay in the wrestling business, some way, shape, or form. He was in Herb Abrams' UWF, and he was in this pay-per-view. What say you about Captain Lou Albano?
Fucking Captain Lou. Like, he's over with me, no matter what he did. But what I had fun with and what I thought was hilarious was, so you have, what the hell is Gimmick Schnabitz, the guy the guy doing the fill-in for Gordon Soley? What was his name?
Randy Rosenblum.
So Rosenblum, right? Rosenblum's sitting there, and it's kind of like when you got that dork, that geek that nobody wants to sit with in the lunchroom. He's sitting at the table, and across from him is a cool kid. And then the cool kid's best friend comes in. So you got now two cool kids making fun of the dork at the table. That's what they were doing. They were basically like teaming up, making this guy sound like a total asshole. I'm sorry, Travis. I'm sorry, Pastor Travis. A total butthole.
Asshole's okay. It's the other words.
Oh, okay. Ass is in the Bible. I always forget that. As I forgot who beat somebody up with a jaw of an ass. Anyway, that was hilarious to me, Prof. That was freaking hilarious. I loved they were just beating him up. They were verbally making him look like a total jobber, which he was. You can't have a wrestling event like this. And I'll go back and say it, dude. You could have called anybody. You could have called a former wrestler. You could have taken a wrestler off this roster or whatever. Put Stan Lane. The fuck? But anyway, it was fun. Captain Lou now. Doing what Captain Lou does, Captain Lou Albano, he's going crazy and shit, and he's getting all emotional and crying because they named him the commissioner of this shit indie. that, believe it or not, I think had more than one show.
No, the plan was to do more than one show, but it depended on the buy rate. They missed the mark on the buy rate because he was expecting 40 to 50,000, and as you eloquently said, it was 29,000. Yeah, so he took a loss. So you could not do another quarterly Heroes of Wrestling pay-per-view.
Not quarterly, but I think I'm gonna look it up right now as we talk, Professor. But I think there is another Heroes of Wrestling. I'm gonna look it up right now as we talk.
Well, we could go with, I can abbreviate another match. It was a blood feud between Abdullah the Butcher and the One Man Gang. And again, this is another mistake from Bill Stone, but I'm not going to put it all on Bill Stone. I could put it a little bit on One Man Gang, but costumes are very expensive, Ray. He could have got over with the Akeem gimmick. He didn't have to call himself Akeem. But you could have bought you could have bought a dashiki. You could have bought something else. You could have bought a Kango hat and kind of like, relive that moment of your kiddom. Relive that moment of your childhood with the African Dream Akeem. But that match would have made no goddamn sense if it was Akeem the African Dream against Abdullah the Butcher. It had to be One Man Gang against Abdullah the Butcher. Again, this is a no contest to me because, once Abdullah the Butcher gets in the ring, Abdullah the Butcher is John Moxley Reflectionites of today. He wants to bleed. He forces, but at least Abdullah the Butcher bleeds for real. He uses his own fork to make himself bleed. Doesn't really use a razor like John Moxley does. And this is not a rib at John Moxley. I'm just giving you the logistics here. But Mr. Hepatitis C, Ray, Abdullah the Butcher, I don't know how many wrestlers he gave Hepatitis C to. But this was a bloody match. I felt if he was a fan in the front row, knowing that these guys are coming and they're bleeding, and of course, like you said, AIDS is happening still. There ain't no cure for AIDS, not even in 1999. No. So you seeing that coming your way. So what say you, Ray, about the blood feud between Abdullah the Butcher and One Man Gang?
Listen, this was a monster. It was a monster. King Kong versus Godzilla. which is fine. They're going to get bloody. You're going to have one of these matches. Listen, One Man Gang dominated most of this fucking match. But here is the thing. Like I said, we're left with blue balls again. There's no winner. How the fuck is this thing a no disqualification? It was no disqualification match, right?
No, this is a straight match. It was.
Then how the fuck were they beating the shit out of each other with knives and fucking gimmicks?
Because the referee did not know what to do.
You got to be kidding me.
I'm not kidding. He just watched it.
What the fuck? By the way, who the fuck is Honest John Cheatham? That's the Abdullah the Butcher's manager. Anyway, I'm sure he had a fine career. Oh my God, bro. It was a double count out. So I'm like, how the hell is it a double count out in a no holds barred?
Bill Stone does not read the bylaws of professional wrestling, so he did not know what to do. So that's the problem. But did Abdullah the Butcher really give the fans blue balls? Because, like you said with Paul Orndorff and the Pile Driver, I expect Abdullah the Butcher to bleed with a fork. Yeah, I got that. So the only blue ball was One Man Gang not giving me the splash, the 747 splash. So you're right on that instance.
I'm just saying, we didn't get a winner. We didn't get a winner, bro. But goddamn, like, I mean, I understand.
It was a clusterfuck between Godzilla and King Kong. That was bad. That's as bad as it got.
Bro, it was like, do you remember that movie, the original King Kong versus Godzilla?
Yes.
Fun fact: in Japan, Godzilla actually wins the fight, and he comes out of the water. He goes away. In the American version, King Kong gets up and he swims away.
And you're talking to a Godzilla mark here. That has been debunked. There is there is no two versions of this. There's no Japan version and there's no American version.
So King Kong always went over strong.
Yes, he won.
Okay. All right. Wow, I didn't know that.
I believed you. I believed you. I was a kid too, and I heard that rumor a long time ago. And with thank you to YouTube, thank you to Google, I actually looked because I was looking for that movie where Godzilla won in the Japanese version. Never existed.
Never happened. Okay.
Never happened.
Well, this will still work here. Right, even though I'm fucking wrong, and now my life has changed because I thought it was two versions.
Godzilla gave you blue balls right there.
He did, but could you imagine that movie ending, right, in a double count out? They both go into the water, and that's it. They both drown, and that's it. Nothing. They just can't swim. They both go. That would, like, could you imagine that? That's what this shit was, blue balls. I came away with half a hand job, not very happy. Made no sense. I thought, Professor, I literally, maybe because I was half asleep, I thought it was a fucking no holds barred hardcore match because hardcore matches were a thing in 1999.
But Bill Stone was not a wrestling aficionado like you and I and Dutch Mantell is. He's just giving out the money, and then, like you said, these wrestlers are booking it themselves. The inmates are running the asylum, so you got 7 minutes of a clusterfuck and blood. So we'll just leave it there.
Time out. Is Bill Stone alive?
That I don't know.
All right. But do we have, let's do the dead count here now. One Man Gang, still alive, right? Abdul the Butcher, still alive?
Barely.
Tully Blanchard, still alive?
Yeah.
Okay. Stan Lane.
Was on AEW a while ago.
Right. Stan Lane is still alive.
Yeah. Lauren Brobart's favorite.
Okay. I'm going to find out if this fucking guy, whatever his name is, Robert Stone. Bill Stone. Why am I saying Robert Stone? That's the manager from NXT. If Bill Stone,
we're gonna skip one match reflection nights because it really has no bearings for us because we have to get to the main event. We have to get to why people remember Heroes of Wrestling because of the infamous promo from Jake the Snake Roberts and Ray. This is, again, if you didn't like Jake the Snake Roberts, this was the funniest promo you could watch because Jake the Snake was intoxicated. Again, if a casino is going to give you complimentary drinks and Bill Stone says is probably giving you, spending money, let's say a spending allowance, you knew what Jake the Snake Roberts was going to do. He was going to get alcohol and drugs. Now, the thing I feel sad about is because in 1999, let's not forget, when did the Beyond the Mat come? Was it 99, 98?
I think it was 99.
99, because they did the Mick Foley thing and they used the Royal Rumble. That's why I'm saying that Beyond the Mat did come out in 1999. And of course, in that movie, Reflection Nights, Jake the Snake Roberts' trials and tribulations were showing, his relationship with his kids. He has wrestled intoxicated once before in an indie show in high school. So it wasn't like this was the first time ever, Ray, that he was wrestling intoxicated. But this was a pay-per-view. This was something that Bill Stone was trying to sell to distributors, Ray. And Jake the Snake Roberts is ruining Bill Stone's business venture of trying to get a quarterly pay-per-view on pay-per-view every 4 months. So I'd say you, Ray, about the drunken promo of Jake the Snake Roberts. He was already complaining about not being in the card game with Jimmy Snuka and Captain Lou Albano. Made no sense in the world. He was part of the double main event that turned into a tag team main event because he was an unsafe worker being intoxicated.
Well, first, Bill Stone was Little Bundy. And we'll get into that later. Little King Kong Bundy. That was Bill Stone. I was like, who the fuck is that? Who the fuck is that guy? That fat little fuck in the corner. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about that later.
Mm-hmm.
So now, you're asking me about this promo with Jake the Snake Roberts. I'm going to say something that's going to shock you, Professor.
Okay.
Jake the Snake wasn't that bad in this match.
Oh, okay. I'm about to say.
The promo, you could tell. I forgot who the hell the guy doing it backstage interviews.
Michael St. John from USWA fame.
All right, so Mean Mike Gene. Let's call him that. Instead of Mean Gene Okerlund. Mean Mike Gene. Your dollar store Gene Okerlund. He's there, and you could tell he is just fucking disgusted with Jake the Snake Roberts. Mm-hmm. I could just smell the alcohol and the hooker spit coming off of Jake the Snake Roberts' mouth into that microphone. You have to replace the little foam gimmick over the microphone.
Mm-hmm.
Disgusting. What the hell was he talking about?
I have no idea.
It's like, do you remember that promo? He's like, the one that's kind of sus when he's like, I'm gonna get as big as I can in your hands. I'll grow as big as I need to be inside of you. Where the hell he said
But he wasn't inebriated.
He wasn't inebriated.
Cold and calculated.
But this one, he was just talking about dumb shit that nobody knew what the hell he was talking about. And you could tell that poor guy, the interviewer, just wanted to just end it. Mean Mike Enos, whatever his name is.
Did he give the signal to the cameraman to pan away and because Jake the Snake kept saying, "Come, I want the camera in my face."
So here's the best part. So that's great. Very, very perceptive of you. So I'm sure that they wanted to end that segment right then and there with the camera on the snake. But Jake is like, no, put the camera facing me, you fucker. I've got something more to say. And he just went on and said nothing for another 5 minutes. So, goddamn, I said to myself, is this the event that they filmed for the documentary? I think, did they film some of it there?
No, they didn't film anything from Heroes of Wrestling. The intoxicated part of Jake the Snake was in another high school. But again, he was, the reputation of Jake the Snake was perceiving him that he was coming into these venues, these appearances, if you will, Reflection Nights. He was coming inebriated already. So he was already a head case for promoters. He was already going to be, confrontational to the wrestlers that he was going to work with. So the co-main event was Jake the Snake Roberts against Jim the Anvil Neidhart. Ooh. So Reflection Nights, I'm going to try to give you an analogy if you've never seen this. The closest I can think of is Jeff Hardy coming in inebriated in TNA Victory Road 2011 going up against Sting. Sting knew that Jeff Hardy was coming in inebriated. Sting knew that Jeff Hardy was intoxicated, and Sting wanted to end the match very quickly.
Right.
Here's the problem with this match, Reflection Nights. Jim Neidhart felt the same way as Sting did.
Oh, he didn't know what the hell.
Jake Roberts was a little bit quicker in his inebriated things. He moved around. He did not stay in one place. No. Jim the Animal Neidhart was trying to do the heelish things, the heelish moves, the kicks, and Jake was no selling it. And then one part of the match, Reflection Nights, Jake the Snake was doing bestiality to Damien.
Yeah, he was holding Damien up to his cock, making believe it was his penis. Listen, I got to cut you off real quick. Did we miss a match
No, I purposely wanted to miss the
Okay.
match. It was.
All right.
I just wanted to get to this because this is what
Okay.
everybody remembers.
We're still going to talk about that one though, right? Real quick.
We'll give it a little nice.
Just touch on it
We'll
because these two last matches, and we're going to talk about the other one. Went the match that we haven't talked about yet went 12 minutes basically. That's a long fucking way for that match to go.
Mhm.
This match here went 16 minutes and 34 seconds. 10 minutes too long, in my opinion.
Well, technically, I think the Jake the Snake Jim Neidhart match went 6 minutes, and then there was a little bit of delay, and then they brought in King Kong Bundy and Yokozuna to like make it a substitute tag team main event. And of course, Reflection Nights, Yokozuna in 1999 was almost 700 pounds.
Yeah,
he was battling his, he wasn't an alcoholic. He wasn't a drug addict, but he loved to eat. So he did not control his weight. King Kong Bundy knew how to control his weight, Ray. So, if he learned from if King Kong Bundy could have mentored Yokozuna, he could have controlled his weight to be that 515-pound monster, sumo wrestler that he was in 1993. But 6 years later, in 1999, he was a shell of himself. And of course, that's why it took 16 minutes, because 3 minutes was Yokozuna coming down the aisle very slow.
Do we count Jake the Snake Roberts walking to the ring, putting the snake down in the corner, and just fucking disappearing in the back for no goddamn reason, and then coming back?
They never said what he did.
Why did he?
I don't know why. I think he might have wanted to take a piss in the back.
That's what I thought. They were like, the Dutchman. Well, he's using psychological. That's why he disappeared. You could tell Neidhart, as coked up as he was during this match, bro, he was like, "What the fuck am I supposed to do?" He's just like, "Yeah, baby." That's all he was doing. Just put fingers up in the air. Yeah, baby. Bro, there was Jake the Snake Roberts. For those that didn't watch it, literally came down to the ring, stumbling, put the snake down, left the bag open. By the way, goddamn Damien was.
Let's not forget that I think he motorboated a woman in the front row.
No, he took the woman's hands.
Oh, okay.
And put them on his breasticles.
Oh, okay.
Because let me just be very clear. Most of the wrestlers in this event had breast, and they weren't all female. They weren't female at all, just one, but they all had breast. Everybody.
Yokozuna had the biggest breast.
Oh, they were nice breasts, but
they were double D's.
But yeah, a man very uncomfortable. You could tell that he took the snake out of the goddamn bag too. That was another thing. He, Damien, I'm pretty sure was not supposed to come out that early.
No. That's why your man Bill Stone came out during the match and then did an audible to make it a tag team main event. Right. And then thank God that the referee said, you know what, we got it. Jake the Snake is the most inebriated guy. He wouldn't even know that he gets beat. He loses the match. Yokozuna doesn't care. He got a payday. So this was the longest match. You're right, Ray. It was 16 minutes, too long. But if you condense the match, it was probably 2 8-minute matches. Jake the Snake was in there 16 minutes too long, but he had 2 matches. Maybe did he get 2 paychecks? I don't know. I know Jim the Animal Neidhart, like you said, he was coked up, but he was very he was very on point. They're like, I worked twice.
Right.
I want my money.
And I'll tell you what, Jim Neidhart actually looked great. Like in shape. For the shape, he looked in good shape, Jim Neidhart.
To be fair, he was in WCW a year before. He was with British Bulldog. So, he was on TV. So it wasn't like, this wasn't a drop off to a lot of people. This was probably a big selling point to have Jim the Animal Neidhart because he was from the WCW Monday Nitro, family, if you will. So,
I got to throw something out there before you jump in.
Throw it out.
Death count.
Okay.
So right now, this match put us over the top real quickly. If you think about it. So the first match, so the first dead person that we have, Tommy Rogers still alive, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So George Steele dead. Sensational Sherry, rest in peace. Julio Fantastico, his career is dead. That doesn't count. Nikolai Volkov dead. Let me see. Abdullah Butcher still alive, barely. One Man Gang still alive. Jimmy. All right, we're not going to talk about that yet. Jim Neidhart. We get 3 dead guys here. Jim Neidhart, King Kong Bundy, and Yokozuna, the only one. Can you believe out of all 3 of these people, the only one that's alive and actually doing pretty goddamn well, God bless him, is Jake the Snake Roberts.
the ultimate redemption story that Jake Roberts, battled his demons, and now and he got his wife, and he's dating his ex-wife again. So
no way, I didn't know that.
Him and Cheryl have reunited, and it feels so good.
You want to hear something real quick?
Sure.
I did an event in New Jersey with Apter, and that was our first interview with Jake Roberts, and this was when he literally just started with DDP.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to tell you something, man. When I spoke to him, and when I had a conversation, I have a beautiful picture with the guy, big man, but he was. You can tell when somebody's like bullshitting and working.
Mm-hmm.
He was just so appreciative of everybody. He talked to everybody, signed any fucking autograph. He was taking pictures with everybody, not charging a fucking dime. I mean, he had his gimmick table where he made the money, but he didn't give. He was so appreciative of what I believe was his fifth chance in life. And he was just so kind and wonderful. And I had such a good experience meeting that Jake the Snake Roberts. That was wonderful, bro. So kudos to him. I'm happy to hear that, man. That makes me smile, bro.
Yeah, it does. The ultimate redemption. And if you believe, if you have faith in God, just like Pastor Volts will tell you, if you believe, good thing. God is good, as Montez Ford would say. Sure. So, 3 out of 4 died in the main event, and Jake the Snake is still going strong and is in AEW. So, that's another win for him. He's on TV if he gets the chance.
Right?
Tony Khan will book him right. So,
bro, Jake the Snake Roberts is still relevant in 2023 on TV. How great is that?
He is.
Good
it's
for
very
him,
good.
Man.
Very good for him. So before we close, you wanted to go back on a match with Jimmy Snuka. You want to call him the killer, the murderer, or whatever. I don't.
He's also dead.
Yeah, he is. Well, he's in hell. So going up against.
I have to do a final dead count, but go ahead.
And I think Bob Orton Jr. did pass away also. So this was a And this match culminated from a card game. So because of Commissioner Captain Lou Albano making sure that Jimmy Superfly Snuka did not lose in the game of craps or poker, whatever the case may be, Captain Lou Albano caught Bob Orton cheating. And from there, we got an 11-minute clusterfuck. But
actually, 11 minutes and 46 seconds.
Oh, I forgot the exact count, but thank you very much, Ray. But
what?
Jimmy Snuka, the older he got, he can hardly fly. He tries to fly, but he has that one good jump in him, and he saves it. Yeah, but he saves it for that one big moment. He did it. Yeah. He did it on Nitro in '99. He did it on WWE TV like a Raw, like celebratory Raw. He has that one good jump in him, but Heroes of Wrestling, no. He did not have that one good jump. What say you, Ray, about the match, and then we'll close it out.
All right, Bob Orton looked fantastic. I mean, even to this day. Oh, he's dead now. So, by the way, the final count is 8. 8. There are 8 matches, and we have 8 wrestlers dead. God bless them all. Yes. Oh, 9. Captain Lou Albano. Didn't count him. 9. May they all rest in peace. Thank you for the memories. But Cowboy Bob Orton looked great in this match. With all that being said, this was like just fucking like after Taco Bell shits. Like so bad. This match went fucking 12 minutes, bro. 12 minutes.
This was 14 years in the making. Remember, everything culminated from WrestleMania 1, and it had to end at Heroes of Wrestling. It was 14 years.
Professor, Abdullah the Butcher and One Man Gang had a hardcore match that went into the stands, and that shit was 7 minutes and 34 seconds long. This regular match between these two guys, well into their freaking, like, I think they were in the 60s at this point, or 50s. Man, 12 minutes. All I can say is whoever paid for this shit and didn't have the little illegal black box that we had in my uncle's house, God bless you all. You're dumb. That's all I have to say about this match.
I knew that when this pay-per-view came out, I was like, no, I'm saving my... I had a choice between that and ECW, and you knew where my money went.
Oh, God.
I paid for ECW. That's all I will have to say. So, Ray, you picked this, and I will say this in closing. On paper, remembering, having your childhood memories celebrating, it's an A-.
Right.
The presentation and the results, I'm going to be fair to a degree. D+. What say you?
That's fucking fair. So I'm going to give it an A for nostalgia. Because if I was there, I would have popped like crazy. I love the Samoan SWAT team. I loved Marty Jannetty, Tommy Rogers, Greg Valentine, George Steele. These are all people that we could sit up close and watch, you know, and we probably hadn't seen them in years. So I'm going to give it an A for that. And I will agree. I think the production was probably like a D. So if you kind of do the math, this is probably like a C minus, maybe like a C show.
Round it out. Yeah, that's a good average right there.
But I'll tell you what, for all these guys, a lot of these guys not wrestling for years, being thrown in, you have this guy, whatever his name was, I totally forgot his fucking name already, the announcer, the play-by-play guy.
Randy Rosenblum.
Randy Rosenblum. Good old
Rambling Randy Rosenblum.
I mean, and he tried. You could tell he was getting upset, you know, towards the middle of the show, trying to do his best, trying to throw out the fact that Captain Lou Albano was in the business for this many years. And I don't know if he had that shit written down somewhere, or he was trying to prove to Dutch Mantel that he knew something about wrestling, cough button.
Well, he didn't have Google, but he had Yahoo. So, you know, he had to look it up.
Did his best. I think for what it was, if you really think about it, if I was going to an indie event, I would love an indie event like this. But for a pay-per-view, no. Ain't nobody going to pay for this shit, bro. Nobody.
I think, Ray, and you can actually expound on this because, you know, with the One Wrestling years and you and Bill after, the maturation of, let's say, the indie circuit. Because, again, in the 90s, the indie circuit was not that attractive. But as the 2000s waned in, and then you had the PWGs growing, and you had the Combat Zone Wrestling growing, and then you in the 2010s with One Wrestling, you did a couple of indies here and there. The maturation of the indie circuit was a little bit better than the presentation of the indie circuit in the 90s. Would you agree with that, or you have a different take on that?
Oh, no, I agree with you. And that's why I said that this event, I think, and you can look, they must have lost. I can't see how much they lost. And honestly, I tried to do some research here as we were talking about Bill Stone. He doesn't come up anywhere. I mean,
and you can't find that second Heroes of Wrestling.
No, I can't. I don't think it existed actually. If it did, if you guys out there know,
that's the Japanese version. Heroes of Wrestling in Japan. Bill Stone did it, where he actually got a good show out of it.
I mean, if you go to IMDb, he's actually listed just once as Little Bundy on IMDb. That's all you get. But anyway, what was your question? Oh, so yeah, I mean, as a pay-per-view, I'm not going to spend money on this shit. But I thought this was a nice trip down nostalgia lane. You know, I would love to go to, like, wouldn't you? Like, let's be real, Prof. Like, if we had if we sat down right now, right? Because if you think about it, guys like Stone Cold Steve Austin, let's say The Rock, all those guys, let's say in the next 10 years, they're older, right? But they do a show like this. Those guys that we Edge, Christian, they get together and they do a mega old man show where they all move in half speed, which is not going to happen because of Rock, you know, and Stone and stuff. But I would watch. I would go.
I'd be interested.
You know,
I mean, again, we saw it last year with Stone Cold at WrestleMania.
Right.
He could still, you know, move in the ring. Rock can still do what he can do. And like you said, with the Hardys, Matt Hardy is still doing it on a weekly basis on Dynamite. So we are living that kind of nostalgic moment in sprinkles, if you will, Reflection Nights. Christian did it on a pay-per-view. Edge is going to do it at this year's WrestleMania. So, you know, we are living our childhood, or we are living our teenage, you know, hormone years with some of these attitude wrestlers. And with that being said, Reflection Nights, we close on this episodic episode. This is a late birthday present for our executive producer extraordinaire who turned 29 a couple of days ago. So, you know, I'm being nice. He ain't 29, but that beard is not 29. That beard is like 53, but neither here nor there. So, Big Ray, the executive producer extraordinaire, give out those. Yeah, you're giving me the finger. I'm just giving it a buck here. But anyway, Big Ray, give out those socials and give out those show informations where people can find you.
All right. So I'm going to try to do my best, Tommy one. I'll put over my shit first. You can find me everywhere on all social media, and no, not on fucking, what is that Grinder and that dumb shit that Tommy Wonder always puts over.
He found you on Grinder.
He did not find me. He found his twin brother on Grinder. Now they're dating. He's dating his brother. Anyway, you can find me everywhere at Big Ray Hernandez. You can find me on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. on if you search Hami Media, Hami Media Group on YouTube. We're live. Me and the vet, Jamie Williams, doing the Next Level Wrestling review. If you don't want to watch NXT, we will do it for you, and we'll talk about it. So that's a public service. Also, on that same Wednesday, I do the A Show with April Hunter at 4:30 p.m. You can just search.
Wow.
Oh, God. So she's so beautiful.
I just wanted to say that.
The A Show with April Hunter. And big shout out to Colin Wysong, who filled in for me when I was sick on my birthday. Yes, I got sick on my fucking birthday, and I'm finally recovering. This show was not easy to do, by the way. My voice is not all there, but I really did enjoy it. I will reiterate the fact that I absolutely fucking love you and Tommy Wonder every single week. I love editing the show and listening back. I listen to every show. Tommy always fucking questions me. Like, that's if Big Ray listens. No, I listen every freaking weekend. I usually save it for Sunday nights because that's my busiest night at work when I'm closing down shop and moving things around the building and I'm doing a lot of shit. And I'm like, I need like an hour and a half or an hour of listening to you guys, and that's the podcast. That's the time, because that's my most strenuous time at work. That's when I listen to it, and I love it. Thank you so much. So check out our stuff, man, guys. This is, in my opinion, the best old school wrestling podcast you will find, period. Better than anything. I'm telling you right now. The best. If you guys are listening for the first time because I put it over, listen to this show. Watch this show. It's everywhere. You can find it on the Big Vito brand. It's actually at Twitch or at TV. What is it? Twitch.tv/ the Big Vito brand. We're also at youtube.com/ what is it? The PWHustle. PWHustle Networks. And I think that's about everything, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no.
The PWC.
Yes, Jimmy T. Yeah, PWC, mate. Jimmy T in the PWC, mate. Yeah.
His favorite tag was on the Heroes of Wrestling, the Men Down Under. So, even though he likes going down under himself. But
he goes down under men. He goes down under men many times.
Yes, he does. And you can find me on my Twitter at PWHustle, that's PWHustle Prof. And, of course, shout-outs to my PWHustle brethren, Billy Ray Valentine, Mr. Infinite Fringe himself at Obi-Wan, you know me. And, of course, the king of the reactions, 8-Track Brown at the number 8, TRAC Brown. So, what are we going to do next week, Reflectionites? Since we are in WrestleMania season, I'm going to have to do another one that Ray you already had it in your credits.
I did?
We're going to do a what if. What if WrestleMania failed?
Oh, shit.
You already had it in the intros, so it is apropos that we do a what if WrestleMania failed. And if Big Ray wants to do a run-in, a surprise run-in, the door is open to do a what if, Ray, for you. But of course, TW should be back from his excursions from watching Taylor Swift, Tiffany, Debbie Gibson, Britney Spears, Miley Cyrus, Haley Cyrus, and all the other Kardashians. I don't care, whatever
all the Cyruses.
So yes, all those Cyruses. So with that being said, I'm the professor. That's the executive producer extraordinaire, Big Ray Hernandez, saying good night, and we'll see you next time here at the PWHustle PWR podcast at Hami Media Group at podbeam.com. Peace.
Hey, Sergeant Slaughter followed me on Twitter. How cool is that?
I beat y'all. He already followed me a year and change ago.